Great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Sophia, for that great introduction. Hopefully, everyone can see and hear me. Just to make sure that you can see and hear me. Excellent. I can see the chat box moving already. It's good to see everyone again. And I'm glad that everyone is with us for our session. So I do want to make sure that we do have enough time to complete all the information shared. And I want to make sure, like Sophia said, that I am able to answer any of your questions. So at the very end of our session, I will be taking questions directly. But please feel free, once again, if you have any questions about our content, any of our materials, or any of the teaching styles or approaches that we do discuss today, please feel free to use our Q&A chat box. We have our local OUP teams ready. We have all of our professional development team members ready, and we also have our distributors to helping us out as well. So please do not feel shy to ask any questions, and I guarantee that we'll be able to provide an answer for you. So let's go ahead and jump right into our session. And we are going to be focusing on writing today. And I want to make sure that with our session and with the information that we're sharing, we make writing more practical, meaning that our session is going to be focusing on how we can use our writing core skill pages in our series, and then how to develop an easier teaching strategy, but most importantly, how we can make that writing process easier for our students to understand and also to follow along. To be honest, writing is not always the most exciting or even the most common or strongest skill that many of our language learners are dealing with, but we want to make sure that it is still equally represented and used in a proper way as well. Now, before we actually do start, I do want to say thank you, everyone, for all of the teachers that were able to join our sessions. As you can see, we've had, this is our 5th session now, so we've had 4 before our writing session. And I do want to make sure that it is a very, very happy moment for all the presenters and the teachers and all of our local and OUP team members to see that we have such active members in the Vietnamese English education community. So we want to say thank you for everyone's diligence and support throughout the full month of the sessions. And since we are in our final session of our series, I do want to say let's keep that energy up and that passion as we continue our series today, and as we continue the learning and teaching process using TNON 6 Friends Plus and continuing our professional development as teachers in the classroom as well. So everyone, please give yourselves a big round of applause for those teachers that were able to join us throughout our previous sessions and for the time and consideration you have given us today. So as a warm-up, I believe that it's proper that since we are talking about writing skills, that we demonstrate some of our responses and using the chat box. Now, once again, for the questions that I do ask, I want to make sure that we don't have too much stress on all of our teachers. So the responses hopefully can be short and brief. I understand that many teachers would like to share longer responses, and that is completely fine. But please do not think that I am expecting paragraphs or essays in these types of questions and answering. But I do want to make sure that we do get some warm-up and practice today. So hopefully everyone can see our warm-up question. It says, write a sentence using the images below, which I'm going to show you the images. And there are going to be 3 images that I show you. And in our chat box, everyone, hopefully, if you can use at least 1, hopefully 2 images to write a complete sentence in our chat box. Remember, you can keep it simple, but try to use the images provided to make that sentence. So hopefully the directions are clear. And here are our 3 images. Hopefully everyone can see all 3 images. And what I would like to ask everyone is, using these pictures, using these images themselves, can you please write a sentence in our chat box? Of course, this is going to be creativity and using your critical thinking skills, but please use the images in front of you and write a short sentence from the pictures that you see into our chat box. I'll give you a few moments as our responses come in. Good, and I can see the sentences that are coming in right now. And once again, we can see that we have some simple sentences saying that I live in Vietnam. And then there are more complex questions saying that I like traveling around Vietnam. Vietnamese people are very social. Whoa, this is happening really fast now. It's hard to read. Vietnamese people are friendly and welcoming to foreigners. Wow, that's actually a very good sentence. Let's go ahead and see some other sentences that are coming in. Everyone is very glad to live in Vietnam. I like that sentence a lot. Traveling in Vietnam is interesting. Very, very good. Oh, we have a very honest response. It says traffic jams can be irritating. Okay, interesting. No problem. The traffic in Vietnam is bad. Okay, yes. I have been very fortunate to visit Vietnam many times. And yes, the traffic in Vietnam can be frustrating. But to be honest, traffic anywhere in Asia can be frustrating. Excellent. Very, very good. So I'm glad to see that as our other teachers are still typing in, which is great to get your responses in, I like to see that a lot of our teachers, first of all, understood our warm-up and they were able to use what they saw. They were able to process the images. And then from there, they were able to produce a simple sentence. Some of them were using 1 images. Some teachers used 2 and even 3 of the images. Now, let's go ahead and see why this warm-up was done. So I want to make sure that we explain why this warm-up is being completed in our webinar and the purpose behind it. So my first question for all of our teachers is, were the directions clear? Were the directions clear? For this warm-up, were the directions clear? Is this yes or no? Good. So I can see that some of our teachers are still getting our answers in, and hopefully a lot of our teachers are responding. Majority are saying yes, the directions were clear. There were some teachers that are saying no, they're not, but that's okay as well. Now, the idea is that we're trying to make sure that we are expressing clear directions within our writing projects, within our writing tasks. Now, for our second question, was the purpose of writing activity known? Meaning, not just the directions, but was there a purpose for this writing activity? Yes or no? Was there a purpose for this writing activity? Now, this is actually a great mixture of responses, and this is what I was looking for. Some teachers are saying yes, there was a purpose. Some teachers are saying no. Now, depending on your position, it could be yes or no. Yes, maybe you believe that, oh, this purpose was a writing warm-up. We're warming up to our webinar, and this is our activity. So that was the purpose. Other teachers that responded no may be thinking, okay, we're writing, but there is no result to it. We didn't have an objective of that writing skill itself. So once again, these are the type of questions I'm glad to see that there is a mixture between yes and no, and responding to what you introduced or what you feel like we're dealing with questions and their purpose. Now, for our question number 3. Question number 3 asks, list ways to improve the quality of writing. So in our chat box, instead of saying yes or no, number 3 is not a yes or no question. Number 3 is asking our teachers, what are some ways to improve the quality of writing? So in the chat box, can you just share just basic ideas or methods that you can do to improve the quality of writing? So we have one teacher saying structure, another teacher saying increasing vocabulary, grammar, knowing the topic. These are great responses. Practice, improve grammar, give examples, use visuals, read a lot, listening practice, writing a diary every day. Wow, these are great suggestions. So hopefully we can see that even with starting from a beginning of an activity, from the directions, starting from explaining the purpose, and then building upon different strategies and methods, dealing with vocabulary, practice, grammar, reading, writing skills, listening skills, you can see that writing itself incorporates a lot of other skills than just the physical act of producing writing. So thank you for all of your responses, and the energy in the chat box is great to see, and I really enjoy everyone being involved, so I appreciate that. So what we want to do is, through our warm-up reflection, the purpose of it was that no matter the situation that you are in, either you are physically writing on paper with a pencil or pen, or even in a face-to-face classroom, or if you are doing your writing over an email or a typed document, what we want to make sure we're focusing on is that we have clear writing objectives. Not only are the instructions clear, but do the students know what the purpose of the writing is? Also, are we also providing the practice through guided application? As teachers, are we giving our students that proper structure, that process, that method? Are we providing them guided instruction for them to not only learn and practice the task, but start creating their own products of original writing? So that is going to be the 2 areas that we really want to focus on. And I want to make sure that for us to be successful in those 2 areas, that we break down our session with our key points. So what I want to do now is I want to go over what we're going to be discussing with our agenda. And of course, we're going to start off by, once again, looking at the Tian-An 6 Friends Plus components and resources. We also want to make sure that we focus on allowing our students to know the purpose of writing and how teachers can set proper goals. What is going to be a short-term goal? What is going to be my long-term goal? How can I get my students step by step into a successful, productive result? Of course, we're going to take a look at our core skills in our course book. And through the course book core skills, we're going to be looking at practical applications and exercises. So in this section, we are actually going to take the writing section in the book and we're going to break down 2 different methods of how we can actually take this lesson and build upon these steps, apply these skills, and allow our students to make a final product. And of course, at the end of our session, we're going to take a look at our summary. We're going to be looking at different resources, different areas, different links that we can go to allow our teachers to have the proper content resources, communication with not just the OUP local team, but all of our supporting local teams as well too. So let's go ahead and jump right in and talk about the components and resources. Now, throughout our 5 sessions, I believe this screen has been shown within all of our sessions, but I still want to make sure that we understand what is available to our teachers. I really believe that for a teacher to be properly capable of having success in the classroom, they need to know what they're working with. So hopefully in this screen, nothing is suddenly changed or new, but some teachers may not have seen the CPT or the classroom presentation tool yet. Or some teachers know about the teacher's guide and maybe not having to look at or not yet looked at all the materials. But I want to make sure that if you do have any questions about any of the components or the resources, there is a teacher's website and you can ask direct questions into our chat box. I also want to make sure that I noticed that earlier before our session started, there were some questions from teachers talking about how do I access the downloaded materials? When will they be available? So once again, here are just examples of what's going to be available for you for easy to access downloadable resources. But please, once again, ask any questions about how to acquire or access any of this content. Now, once again, what's great is that our local teams have been able to develop lesson plans and extended activities. So hopefully you can see that in our screen, this is actually a prepared lesson plan for our writing activity and writing assignment or writing lesson. Now, if you're able to access this later on, that is perfect. You can have a structure given to you. I am also going to provide 2 different ways that you can handle and deliver a writing class, but I want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable knowing that there are resources available for you and there is a structured guide. Many of our teachers ask in our seminars, how can I do this with the time allotted in my class? June, I only have 45 minutes, 50 minutes to get this done. How can I break it down? How much time should I spend? Now, to be honest, this is just a basic template, and every class is different. Every learner is different, and every teacher is different. So it may not match 100%. But please keep in mind that we do have this base template for you to adjust, be flexible, and customize to meet your students' needs, time restrictions, and resource use. So please make sure that that is available for you. Now, I also want to make sure that we also are realizing that there is a course overview module. And with this course overview module, this is going to allow our teachers the proper introduction and reference point about the series itself. It's going to allow our teachers to also understand where the series is coming from, looking at how to do certain skills, and looking at a layout itself too. So please make sure that if you have not accessed the course overview module yet, please go ahead and take a look at the module, and this is going to support a better foundation to understand the series, and you can always return back to it as a reference to see what else is available for you. Now, I want to make sure that this core skill, the structures of our core skills, is quite comfortable for all of our teachers. You can see that within one unit, that we have this type of layout and breakdown of the skills itself. But please keep in mind that even though we are focusing on writing, that does not mean writing cannot be used anywhere else. Core skills and ELT skills and language skills always intersect and are integrated at different times. So just because you may be doing a reading skill or reading lesson, please do not hesitate to mix in a speaking lesson or listening skills activity. It's all going to be integrated together to give your students a much well-balanced language learning environment. So now that we are completed with our components and resources, I do want to focus on the next two sections are going to be a little bit heavier focus for our content for today. And this is going to start with the purpose of writing and setting goals based upon those objectives and those purposes that we're looking for. Now, looking at our slide, we're going to make sure that if we're looking at the objectives itself, I do want to ask our teachers in our chat box if you can please fill in the blank with this sentence. A good writer can blank. Can everyone please in our chat box fill in this sentence? A good writer can. A good writer can. In our chat box, everyone, let's see if we can fill in this answer. A good writer can. Good. Okay, let's see what we are collecting. I can see some of the answers coming in. A good writer can express ideas well. A good writer can concentrate on the topic. Deliver their ideas thoroughly through words. Excellent. These are very, very great responses. Can write focused sentences. Good. Can write well. Write and organize ideas well. Excellent, excellent. So the reason why I asked this question is because as our responses are coming in, there are many different keystones or markers that are going to be described as a good writer. And we're going to return to this question later, but I wanted everyone to think about putting their mindset into the environment of teaching a writing lesson. So I'm going to ask question number 2 now. This is going to be a little bit more complicated because there possibly are going to have more skills needed. So the second part is, a good writer needs blank. Can you please fill in your answer for this sentence? A good writer needs blank. Good. Let's go ahead and see what our answers are coming in. Excellent. We have a lot of responses dealing with skills, such as vocabulary and grammar. But we also have a lot of application responses. A good writer's needs, I can see practice, organization, expressing ideas, creativity, ideas and information. Very, very good. And it's good to see that we are able to distinguish what a writer can do, and for us to have successful writers, what a writer actually needs. So you can see that the goal is going to match the objectives, but through our objectives, we're going to need to design a specific way to get to our goal. So if you take a look at the 4 main skills of language learning, especially for ELT, English language learning, we have our 4 main skills. We usually have writing, reading, listening, speaking, and then writing. Now, usually, commonly, not all the time, but commonly, the reading and listening skills are put together, and the speaking and writing skills are usually put together. Now, the reason why this is commonly done is because oftentimes, reading and listening is described as input skills. Because students have to take the knowledge with reading and listening, usually it's an outside source of information coming in, and that means speaking and writing tend to be output skills. Now, once again, this is not 100%. And of course, you can take, there are many opportunities where writing can be an input skill to it too. But generally, these are the two groups that were broken up with these 4 categories. Now, if you take a look at our response of what a good writer can do, a good writer can, and all of the answers shared today were excellent responses, but we want to make sure that our focus is that a good writer can express themselves clearly through a literary work, meaning that a successful writer is able to take their ideas and through some type of writing, either a diary or an email or a paragraph or a sentence, no matter the length or the style of writing type, a good writer can express themselves clearly through that written piece of work. Now, the reason why we say this is because that idea of writing being an output skill means that first, if you want to make sure that you're expressing yourself clearly, you have to understand what's happening. And this is where a lot of that input comes into it too. Do my students understand the topic that I'm teaching? Do they understand the vocabulary words of this topic? Do they understand the grammar lesson coming in? Now, a lot of times that once we have this information, many teachers expect their students and their learners to automatically be able to produce that type of expression. But the hard part is, during this production, during this expression, there are so many other skills that we are expecting our students to process, not just vocabulary and grammar and sentence structure. Students also have to process the situation. We have to look at spelling, details. We also demand our students to be logical. We also want our students to be creative. So there's a lot of expectations from our young learners to produce this type of expression in a literary work. So in their minds, not only do they have to get all the inputs, but they are now expected to express it clearly. And to be honest, that is a very, very difficult task. And because of this, we have to make sure that our teaching instructions, our examples, our methods are not only clear and simple to understand, but we also want to make sure that the practice reflects what skill we are trying to have them build up to the very end product of writing itself. So we want to make sure that this expression is being supported, but we also want to make sure that they see this process being built up. Why am I writing this? What's the purpose of this? Okay, now I know the purpose. How am I going to get there? And this is going to be our approaches for today. So if you take a look at, we know now a good writer can express themselves in a clear way through a written work. So what do they need to do? A good writer needs to know the learning goals and objectives. Okay, today I am going to write a sentence. I am going to learn how to use adjectives. Clear goals and objectives. They also have to understand the purpose of the writing. Okay, our topic was talking about family, and we want to talk about our family and express our opinions about them. So they understand the purpose of the writing. We also want to make sure that topic awareness and clear instructions around these skills are also going to be supported in the session and in the classroom as well. And we also want to make sure that we are providing our students with open opportunities to practice. And practice really does make a skill stronger. You can give them points, give them feedback, respond, corrections. But the idea of this practice is also letting them to put what they've learned into action. And once again, through this practice, through this feedback, we're going to have progress checkpoints where students and teachers can see, did they hit their goal? What can I focus on? What do I need to improve? Or what can I continue doing well as in the classroom too. So this is where we're going to really focus on the practical applications and exercises in the classroom using our course book. Now, as you can see, I want to return back to our structure of core skills, and we're going to be focusing the rest of our session with the writing page and unit itself. But once again, please keep in mind that writing can overlap into any other core skills as well. Please do not feel like, oh, this is my only time for writing, or this is the only time I should be doing writing. We want to make sure that the writing is going to be blended throughout different core skills in the unit. Now, as everyone can see, we can see that we are looking at our writing page, and we want to make sure that we're looking at the very, very first step, setting our objectives and our goals. Now, once again, I have mentioned this in my previous seminars, and I believe our other teacher trainers have also mentioned our I can statements. Now, the I can statements are going to lead and help you understand and help you clarify what the purpose of our goal is for the lesson. And what does our I can statement say today? It says, I can write a description of a town or a city. I can write a description of a town or city. So, what is our writing purpose or goal? That's our first question we're looking for. The second question is, what information do we need? So looking at this opener, we're asking ourselves as teachers, what is the writing purpose? What information do we need? And hopefully we know that our purpose is descriptive writing. It comes from our I can statement. Okay, I know that today our class, we're going to talk about how to write descriptive writing. This can be one sentence, one paragraph, two paragraphs, but the goal is I am going to be teaching the skills of descriptive writing, getting details in. And once we know this goal, you can see that because we're dealing with descriptive writing, there are certain skills and information that we have to learn from. So we know that, A, we're talking about a town or a city. Okay, if we're doing descriptive writing, then we should need to know about how to add details. And details can come from adjectives or comparing other things. Comparison. What is better? What is worse? Size. Your opinion. Which one do you like or which one do you prefer more than something else? So within that one statement, hopefully you can see that our objective is clear, descriptive writing, and because it's descriptive writing, we automatically know that there are going to be certain skills needed to be successful with this goal. So now we can look at how we can approach our writing in the classroom. And I am going to discuss two different writing approaches that work very, very well with primary and secondary, also older students too. But the very first writing approach is the productive approach or the product approach. Now, I really like this image because this image really, really represents what that product approach is. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the product approach is in more detail. First, the product approach is going to be imitating a model text. So just like in the picture, we have our hot air balloon, and then we have a reflection of the balloon at the bottom. It's not a copy. It's not exactly the same. It has the same outline. It has the same color. It has the same shape. But something about the reflection in the water, it's not 100% perfect. And this is going to be our product approach. We are going to take a model and we're going to imitate it but it's not going to be an exact copy. We're going to emphasize the structure and the organization. We're going to have a controlled practice of the text, meaning we're going to look into the main structure and see the characteristics of that model and what the features are. And a lot of times the product approach tends to be a more of an individual practice. Can you look at the model? Can you see the differences? Can you see what the content is focused on? Now, the product approach really emphasizes on the end product. At the end of our lesson, at the end of our sessions together, has my students been able to look at the main model and also imitate something with their own ideas and their own creative process? But like the reflection, it's going to follow a certain outline and set structure. So the opposite, or the second approach, is going to be the process approach. And hopefully you can see that by the words of the approaches, they're going to be different. Okay, so you can see that with the process approach is going to use the text, but it's not going to be an imitation of it. It's going to be used as a comparison, a reference. This is just an example of our final product, but we're going to get there on our own. So with the process approach, it's going to be more of a global approach, meaning we're going to be focusing on larger purposes, larger themes. We're also going to make sure that with this idea of the process, we're going to be showing multiple drafts, seeing one creation, reviewing it and analyzing it, revising it, and then going into a different draft. And this is going to be more of a collaborative effort with pair work and also teacher feedback back and forth. Now, of course, you can see that with the process approach, this is going to emphasize the creative process. We're going to see, were we able to get from the beginning and all the way to the end to its two? Now, we're going to look at both approaches today, and of course, you can mix them to see what best fits your students and their learning process too in the classroom. But I want to look at the product approach first, but before we do that, I want us to look at our layout and our topic. So you can see that, first of all, we know our literary purpose. This has already been clearly said. We're going to be doing descriptive writing. Now, in our lesson format, they give us a passage, and it's on Ho Chi Minh City. So this passage, in our minds, if you're using the product approach, this is going to be our main reference point for us to imitate some version of the structure. We're going to follow the content's layout and the characteristics. If you decide to go with the process approach, this is going to be our reference point. So our writing section already provides this for you. And then you can see that in the writing unit, we're going to have the skills support. There is clear, explicit instructions and explanation. We have the guided practice and application. So no matter which approach you use or a mixture of them, the Tien On 6 Friends Plus information and content is all provided for you. And we're going to do both approaches in a step-by-step manner in a true in-class application together. So let's start with our product approach first. Now remember, the product approach is focusing on an imitation using the set structures provided in our passage. And once again, our purpose is writing a description of a town or city. So before we actually start writing, in the product approach, we're going to look at the structure we're trying to imitate. So with this structure itself, we have to look at the passage. The passage is going to be our end result. So we have to analyze what the passage content and structure is given to us. So in the classroom, we're going to be looking at the literary style. Okay, it's one paragraph. It's going to be a description. We know the format and length, one paragraph. Do we know our topic? Yes, it's a town or a city. And for this example, it's Ho Chi Minh City. We also have to look at the details. What kind of details are they giving us? They're giving us population. They're giving us description of the town and the city, what locations are, what buildings are going to be there. And number 5, do they have any other additional characteristics coming from this paragraph? Yes, they're talking about personal experience. They're giving us grammar structure as well, just like our students are looking at. So looking at this very first paragraph, as teachers, we are going to first, after we understand our topic and our goals, we're going to analyze this paragraph with our students. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to analyze this part. We're going to examine it. And of course, our topic is Ho Chi Minh City. And our bottom section in the page actually allows the teachers and the students together analyze and examine what content is coming from the main passage. So if we look at number 1, our sentence number 1, it says, it's in the north blank, center of blank. So this examination part is literally having our students go back to the passage after they've read it together and look at each component, dissect it, examine it. So we know that if we look at our answer, compared to our paragraph again, hopefully you can see that our first answer is, it's in the, where is it everyone? South. Center of where? Vietnam. So many of our teachers are saying, oh, writing is difficult. Writing is difficult for our students. Of course, but we're not to the writing portion yet. We are still at the examination. We are wanting to make sure that students understand what the final product is supposed to be, examine it, see the components, and then they're going to do it on their own. So let's look at number 2. It's got a population of about, it's got a population of about 9 million. Excellent. So we know that we are not expecting our students to write yet. That's not the goal at this moment. The moment is, can they recognize the structure, the content, and the details? Number 3, it's very blank and the people are blank. Number 3, it's very blank and the people are blank. So hopefully you can see that for number 3. Very good. Our teachers are putting in their answers at this. Number 3, it's very blank and the people are blank. It is very modern and the people are friendly. Now, as we continue this, you can see that there's more details and there's a personal opinion and comparison. But the key purpose of this is allowing our students to recognize what is in the first passage. What can I find? What are the details? Processing. Can I not only understand the details, am I able to do it myself? Can I recognize it? Can I process the content? Do I understand what is expected of me? And then confirm. Do the activities together. They are now finding the details on their own. They are now supporting what is needed later on in their own writing later. So you can see that many teachers say, oh, Teacher June, this is too difficult. We're not at the writing stage yet. We're trying to break down each section to build to a final writing stage. And to be honest, like our teachers today, we were able to fill in the blanks quite simply because they were able to go back to the main passage. So what happens next? what we want to do is, it's not just copying. We're not doing an exact copy. We want to make sure that through the product approach, we're still giving them the skills to learn about the details themselves. And there are 2 language practices that incorporate sentence writing, which is going to be simple grammar structures and patterns, and more advanced grammar skills. We cannot avoid grammar in writing. Grammar is going to have to be there. So with our grammar, we can also do grammar practice together too. So in our box, everyone, let's do a quick grammar practice. And this is coming from the grammar practice from the lesson itself. So number one, everyone, is it A or B? Is it very friendly people or friendly very people? Which one is it? Is it A or B? A or B? Good, I'll give a few minutes. Excellent, very, very good. You can see that we still have this grammar practice that you can do with your students. And our answer is A. Big round of applause. Okay, let's do another one. Number two. Many good restaurants or good many restaurants? Number 2, everyone, number two. Is it many good restaurants or good many restaurants? Good, okay. I can see that number 2 is also going to be A. Excellent, very, very nice. Let's do one more. Number 3, everyone, number 3. Nice, quite places or quite nice places? Number 3, everyone. Remember, the word is quite, not quiet. Okay, number 3, everyone. Number 3, is it nice, quite places or quite nice places? Okay, good. It's good. I can see that number 3 is going to be B. Very good. Don't get confused on the quite and the quiet. Very, very good. Now, as you can see, the first 3 practices actually came from the writing section because we are still talking about describing a city or a town, and numbers 1, 2, and 3 talk about that specific descriptive pattern. But don't forget, throughout our whole unit, we still have language focus sections. And these language focus sections are going to give you clear, simple instructions of using grammar in the classroom. Now, don't forget that the grammar is also very important, but it's only one part of the whole writing process. So the reason why we do this is to make sure that in the product approach, students can see and learn that grammar is part of adding details. It's part of that process itself to it too. Now, the great part is with our language and focus sections, we have these videos that are going to be visual explanations of grammar patterns. And I want to show a video explanation of a grammar lesson. So at this time, Sophia, can you please put on our grammar video? Perfect. Thank you, Sophia. Hopefully everyone can see the video. I am going to play it, but this is only one of the grammar videos that's already included in our classroom presentation tool that you can access. So not only are you able to have the visual grammar lesson, but you also have an easier explanation for your students to follow along with. So everyone, please watch the video. It's only about a minute long. But you can see how it can be very helpful tool in the classroom.
is Pip's bedroom? There's a bed. There are some books. There isn't a chair. There aren't any posters.
What's in Pip's bedroom?
There is a bed. There's a bed. There is not a chair. There isn't a chair.
Okay, good. So I can see that in our chat box that there are some teachers who are having a little bit of difficulty seeing the video. My apologies if you're not able to see the video. Hopefully you can see it when you use the content itself. Once again, the video is not our main purpose of our session today, but I wanted to show the video to you to show you that there is that visual learning aspect. Teachers who feel like, oh, they have a harder time explaining the grammar concept or even in the writing sections, you can see that there is a video that's going to be supplying there is a bed and then showing that contraction. There is not a chair and then showing that contraction to it too. So please do not feel like if you're having difficulty explaining any of the grammar patterns in the language and use sections, we do have the audios and videos that are going to help you in the classroom. Thank you, Sophia. Can you please go back to our slides? So for those teachers who are able to see the video, hopefully you can see that it is a great resource. And once again, for those teachers who had bad or poor connection or were not able to see the video, I highly recommend taking a look at it in your CPT or the classroom presentation tool. Now, as we continue with the product approach, we're trying to make sure that the writing activities that you do are very, very simple. So following a grammar lesson or grammar video, you can keep your writing activities casual and light by still practicing this type of approach. So one very, very common writing activity for grammar is going to be using mixed up sentences. And I believe many teachers know this. You write sentences on a piece of paper, or you cut them out and you have to rearrange the pieces or you have to rearrange the words together to make that sentence. That is actually a very, very simple writing and grammar activity to it too. Now, I'm not going to show all writing activities because our goal today is to look at the product approach and our process approach, getting them through the beginning to the end. But another writing activity that I like using, that's a very, very simple writing activity. It's called my sentence, your sentence. My sentence and your sentence. And the activity is actually based upon building more sentences based upon a key idea or concept of the original sentence. And this is a very, very simple activity. So as a teacher, I would write a sentence on the board or on my digital screen in your whiteboard or whatever environment you're using. And my sentence would be, I ate pizza in the city. That's my sentence. I ate pizza in the city. So now, your sentence. So the students have to use some type of concept in that sentence. So in this sentence, you can choose a lot of different things. You can choose eating, you can choose pizza or food, you can talk about the city. So a great sentence a student can give you could be, student number 1 writes, pizza is more delicious than carrots. That's great. They've taken one of our sentence images. or concepts, and they took pizza. And they did a great job because they know we're writing about descriptive comparison. So they put more delicious, and they gave us that comparison between each other. Very, very good. And I can see our teachers are also putting responses as well. Another student may put down, the city is louder than the country. What topic did they use? From my original sentence, they took the topic of city. And they used city and comparison again. The city is louder than the country. And the third student is, my mom's food is better than city food. So you can see that in the third sentence, they took a lot of different ideas. They took food, they used comparison, they used the city. So they were able to absorb and write a great quality sentence, looking at the other students' information, building upon their own ideas, or you can do this all shared at once. But the idea is that my sentence and your sentence really contains the topic, the learning skill, the objective, and it's super simple to do. You start off with one sentence and you allow your students the creative and critical thinking idea process to create their own sentences. It's very quick and easy, and everyone can share. Everyone at every level can make it simple. I ate pizza last night, or I don't like pizza, or you can make it longer as well. So this activity, my sentence, your sentence, is very simple to do and really easy to deliver in the classroom. Now, going back to our product approach, we are now looking at everything being put together. So how can we use this in the right way, writing the right way? First, what did we do? We took our main paragraph, our first imitation paragraph, and we are now setting our goals. Okay, everyone, our goal today is one, you're going to do our descriptive writing. We already know that. Students, you're going to do one paragraph. You are going to pick any city that you want. Please don't do Ho Chi Minh City. We already did that. 4, you are going to give me 4 facts or details. Talk about the building, people, what you see. And 5, you are going to share your own experience or your own opinion. The good part is we already did this structure. We already examined the contents. We already analyzed what's inside our main writing. We talked about the grammar. We talked about the vocabulary words. So what they're going to do now is they are now going to produce the writing goal. It's going to be authentic writing, and we're going to have success in our set goals to it too. So what I like to do is, this is one sample page that I give to my students, or you don't have to have it all on one page. They already have it in their book. So like I said earlier, this is the product approach. What did we do? We looked at our reference. We are going to imitate this final product. We already set the goals in our classroom. We know our objectives. So now they are going to write their own writing product about a city or a town in a descriptive manner. So those teachers that said, oh, writing is very difficult, this breakdown and this structure makes it much easier because they have the process and now they understand the purpose of it. They were part of the building process. So of course, it's still going to be difficult, but they now understand why they're doing it and how to do it. So if you take a look at my example, remember, this is the product approach and we have our imitation structure. So what did I do? I am and live in Seoul, South Korea. So I chose my topic on a city. And it follows the same structure, but it's not an exact copy of it. So my sentences are, Seoul is near the west coast of South Korea. It has got a population near 10 million people. And of course, you can still use the same words in their product. It's not copying because we're providing new information. We're just following the same structure. Now my details. Seoul is the largest city in South Korea and is a leader of technology in Asia. Though very modern, same word used, Seoul also has many rivers, trees, and parks to enjoy. Remember, now it's my experience. I often go shopping at malls, but also go hiking in the mountains too. So you can see that the product is now complete. But what can we do more? Can we push our students a little bit more? Can we do more and get better quality from them? And it's quite simple. Remember, this is our product. We now have written our paragraph. How can we create better writing? What questions can we ask to create better writing in the classroom? And it's very simple. The 5 W's and the H. Who did you go with? What did you do there? Where did you go? Why did you do it? Okay, so who, what, when, where, when did you go, and how? So you can see that you can improve this main idea. If you have some fast students, advanced students in your classroom, you can ask them to build upon their ideas. If you have a little bit students who need more time, then this structure itself is already complete for them. So you can see that the product approach really allows this imitation because they have that set structure and they are now filling in with their own information, their own thoughts in a clear and expressive way. So hopefully everyone understands that product approach. Now, with the process approach, it's very, very similar, but with the process approach in the writing section, the process is going to have our students understand how to get from the beginning to the end. Now, the first part is we already know our objective. We know this already. The task is I can write a description of a town or city. Now, instead of looking at the passage and doing an imitation, we're going to build up from the bottom up. We're going to see first our objectives, and the next part is having our students think and plan in the classroom with the class teacher and the other students. They're going to build up their brainstorming ideas. They're going to look at the topic. They're going to design their formats. They're going to look at descriptive details, and they're going to incorporate that grammar comparison. So the questions they're going to think of are, where is the town? How big is it? How is the town or city? How many people are there? What are things in the town or city? Are there any places near the town or city? What do you think about the town? So you can see that in the process approach, instead of giving the product first, they are going to learn and do the steps of the product on their own with the classroom, with their partners, or with small groups. And then they're going to eventually get to the final product writing. Now, you can do this in many different ways. You can use class discussion boards. Now, our CPT does a great job of allowing note-taking. So if you use our classroom presentation tool, one of our tools is going to be our notepad. And in the notepad, the teacher will do a screen share so all of our students can see. If you're doing face-to-face classrooms, it's in the classroom board. But if you're doing online classrooms, if you do screen share, you can type in the information and it's going to be a live discussion board. You can do this with audio and you can do this in text. So if your students are giving you brainstorm activities, the teacher can type in directly, okay, let's talk about things in the city. Okay, there are parks. There are stadiums, coffee shops, schools. So you can actually type this live into the note and you can save it onto your page itself and return back to it later on. So this is a very good tool that you can use in the classroom as a live discussion board, getting their ideas, getting that brainstorming as part of the process approach. Now, if you don't want to use a CPT or you prefer to use a discussion board like Padlet or Google Jamboard, or there are many other free, easy to access websites that allow to have this open discussion board, of course, you can do that as well. You can use a CPT, but if you don't want to use a CPT, you can always use other whiteboards that are available to you. But the whole idea is you are getting them to share your ideas and you're building upon that brainstorming, that process of filling in the information before you do the final product or the process paragraph writing. So now if you go back to our process, we have now done and understood our objective. We have now done and completed our thinking and planning. What comes next? We now look at the writing techniques. These are going to be key phrases, the grammar patterns, and these are going to focus on improving the quality and writing fluency, focusing on vocabulary, using specific expressions, checking to make sure their grammar is correct to improve the quality of the writing itself. So you can see that the process approach is almost backwards or opposite to the product approach. Now, if we take a look at writing the right way, looking at the process approach, the layout is quite different. First, what did we do earlier? We understood our prompt, our objectives, and we did our discussion and brainstorm. So this is just one paper that I can use in my class, and they can do the planning stage all together. So after they have all the background set, what is the next step? They are going to write their own paragraph by themselves. Get them to use that first draft. Try to get them to use all of the information on their own, collect it and write it down. But don't forget, we have our key expressions and our key points that will improve the quality of writing. So after they've written their first draft or the few sentences, you can refer back to key expressions, looking at and reviewing the grammar. And once they're ready for this, that's when they go back and they do that final draft, revise their paper over again, improve the quality. So June, when do we use that Ho Chi Minh City paragraph? This is where that paragraph is going to be used. And this is going to be a reference now. It's not going to be imitation or copy. It's going to be something you refer to. Okay, remember in our paragraph, you have to give me the city name in capitalization. Don't forget, if you want to talk about how large the city is, you can talk about population. It's going to be a reference point now. So you can see that all of the content is still being used in that writing page, but depending on your process and different approach, either the product approach or the process approach, you're going to divide the information and the flow of content is going to be slightly different. So like we said earlier, all the skills and all the content is there. Tien On 6 Friends Plus allows both processes to be used. All the content is there, material resources are also there, and it all depends on what the teacher believes is best for their students and how much flexibility and adjustment is needed in the classroom. Now, no matter what approach you use, the process or product, it's very crucial that if you want to be writing the right way, you have to make sure communication is clear and important. Not just communication from teacher to student, but student to student and student to teacher. We also have to make sure that collaboration opportunities are always available. brainstorming work, partner work, small group work, discussions, homework review, reading other people's paragraphs and writings, giving each other feedback. We always want to make sure that collaboration opportunities are in and available in the class. And please, finally, flexibility is needed, but it's not just flexibility because I ran out of time or it's too hard. The flexibility has to have a purpose. Okay, I'm not going to do that one section because my students need to focus more on this section. I am not going to focus on new vocabulary. I'm going to focus on the vocabulary from earlier in the unit in their writing because they were struggling with it. So that flexibility with the purpose is what you plan and what you deliver is not always 100%. And we want to make sure that teachers are willing to change and adapt into their classroom. So looking forward and wrapping up our summary sections, a lot of teachers always ask, okay, June, which approach should I use? Should I use the product or should I use the process? And to be honest, the approach that you do decide to use depends on you. You know your class better than anyone else. You know your students' levels better than anyone else. Your relationship with your learners and students is stronger than an outside teacher. So when you're deciding to use any of the approaches, you should be asking yourself, have you made your goals clear? Are your explanations and directions understood? Do you provide opportunities to share and to communicate? And have you allowed appropriate time management? Are you giving them feedback? Are you giving them responses, corrections, assessing their writing in the classroom, either with discussion or through homework? So if we go back to our first two sentences, remember I said everyone we're going to do fill in the blank? I want to make sure that everyone knows that a good writer can be anyone. And a good writer needs the right support and opportunity from the teacher, from the students in the classroom, from their parents. It can be anyone, but we want to make sure we're giving our students the proper supports in the class. So don't forget, everyone, even though I did suggest two different approaches, and of course you can mix them. Don't forget that we do have our lesson plan and our template for you to also refer to. Like we said earlier, timing is always an issue. And many teachers ask, June, how do I get this done with only this amount of time? Try using the template first and then putting in different adjustments. Be flexible, everyone. Be flexible. Writing is not a one lesson class. It's going to take time, patience, and flexibility throughout the course of a learner's journey. Even as an adult, a native English speaker, I still have struggling areas when I write an essay or an email or a document. So please be understanding of that. And please understand it is a time skill that takes a lot of time to develop. So I also want to include that not only with our resources through the website and the teacher's resources. If you are interested in learning about and improving your professional development skills as a teacher, we do have other resources and support at OUP. You can always contact our local Vietnamese OUP educational consultants or any of our partners as well to fill any more information about contact points or where can I look at this or where is there a catalog to get all this information. Before we do wrap up, as I mentioned earlier, I do want to say thank you for all of our teachers participating in our webinar series. There are many teachers who joined all 5 sessions, and that is amazing. That really shows so much support and encouragement that our teachers are so passionate about teaching proper and successful classrooms, that you guys have spent 5 weekends receiving these trainings. So we do want to say thank you for all your participation. I can say that all of our trainers, Mark Richard and Ollie, are very, very appreciative of the support that everyone has shown to us. So I do want to say thank you for that. And speaking about time, I do believe we have a good 10 minutes to actually respond to some of the questions. So I'm going to look at our Q&A box, and hopefully I'll be able to answer any of the questions that may have been asked in our session. I'm going to give a few moments just to take a look at the Q&A. Okay, good. It looks like I'm very thankful that, let's see. Great. It looks like a lot of our questions were answered through our local teams and our professional development team supporting us. So there doesn't seem to be any questions immediately. So at this time, I do want to say thank you again. I am going to be switching back to our moderator, and I want to make sure if Sophia is with us. Sophia, are you with us? Okay, I can see that Sophia has is reconnecting at the moment. So as soon as she is able to log back in and also signal to me that she is available. Okay, great. Sophia is here now. Sophia, so I am going to go ahead and go back to Sophia. But before I do go, I do want to reiterate that if you have not seen our course overview module, please go ahead and take a look at it. Hopefully, we can put the link into our chat box if it is available, Sophia. But once again, if you have any questions, I know that some teachers here, this may be your first session, and that is completely fine. But please, please, please use our course overview module as a reference guide to any questions about the content, the overall unit structure, the series structure, and also teaching approaches with there as well. There's a lot of great information, a lot of great content that we put in a lot of time and effort and research in. So please, once again, refer to our course overview module. There actually is a question in, so if you can give me 1 minute to read the question. Now, the question itself is coming from, I want to say Tao. My apologies if I mispronounce your name. The question is actually quite broad, and I just want to read it out loud quickly. It says, the challenges that I face when teaching writing skills are difficult to motivate their students. Students feel lack of interest in writing because they need to know many aspects in order to produce a good writing piece. Students need to know pronunciation, punctuations, grammar, vocabulary, spelling, sentence structure in order to write a good writing piece. And students from different levels are placed in the same classroom with difficult materials. And the question itself is, how can I improve a student's writing ability? Now, this question has many different steps within it. And I don't think that there is a simple answer for this. But what I can recommend is that dealing with motivation and dealing with multi-level students with different skills to approach, I really like to say is, like we said earlier, is to keep it simple. Like we said earlier, in one lesson, you're not going to teach all the grammar in the world. You're not going to teach all the writing tips in the world. So what I recommend is, yes, students need to have a lot of supporting skills to produce a final product, but we are not expected to do that in one sitting. So earlier, like we showed in our I can statements, we focused and honed in on specific areas. We honed in on how to do descriptions, how to address a town related to a town or city, and we looked at comparisons and adjectives. Those 3 goals should be enough for that writing class, and you can always extend upon those skills later on. Like we said earlier, many of the writing skills in any language skill, vocabulary is an ongoing process. You're not going to learn every single vocabulary word in the English dictionary. Grammar also, you're not going to learn it one time and be a master at it. So don't feel pressure to always complete one or master a skill. Grammar is always going to be recurring. So if you can bring that one skill and simplify it, we talked about comparisons of better or more better or worse or more worse. You can focus on that for that one lesson. And then in the next writing lesson, you can either continue that or build upon it as a different skill itself. Now, motivation comes with a student's ability to feel a sense of accomplishment. If you throw 15 things at a student and they don't get done through half of it, they are demotivated. So if you put those small steps, are you able to describe a city and you accomplish it? Even though that they may not enjoy the topic or talking about a city may not be the most interesting topic, they still get motivated in an indirect way, knowing the fact that they had 3 set goals set. They were able to achieve it. And they start internalizing that I can do this process. And they start realizing that their step-by-step buildup is going to allow them to tackle more challenging skills or more challenging topics or themes in the future too. So once again, hopefully I was able to give a different response to it, but at the same time, I really do believe that it is a step-by-step process. And as soon as we keep the objectives simple, motivation and progress will come steadily later on to it too. So thank you for your question. I think that our time is wrapping up. So I said this already, but thank you again, everyone. I do want to send you back to Sophia. Sophia, back to you. Everyone else, thank you again. Please stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.